Kuro Games has done it once again. They have somehow found a way to consistently farm devs listen. This is a motto that is honestly at this point synonymous with Kuro Games as well. It just keeps happening. And it's for good reasons too. I'm going to be honest with you. Throughout the life cycle of the game, they have consistently farmed W's, whether it's from their generous compensation, from the horrible launch, a free Zheng Liao in 1.2, to fixing the voice acting and storytelling, and so many other instances. They have found ways to continuously make Wuthering Waves a better gacha game. Now, it's definitely not a perfect game by any means, and I have some issues with the lack of unique gameplay modes not returning to the game, but you must give credit where credit is due, and that's what we're here to do today. 2.5, in my opinion, well, was pretty much a dry patch for me. The best thing that came out of it was the story quest, which absolutely deserves all the praise it received. Kuro Games found a way to tell a story without compromising the main plotline in order to sell for Lova, something that what I believe is groundbreaking in the second generation of gacha games, as we never really see a character who sticks to their guns and stays as a villain, but is also a playable unit. She kept her integrity as a villain, but also told a heart-wrenching story that made you feel for her. Other than that, though, the patch was lacking meaningful content. I did like the little event where you gotta change the colors, though. That one I thought was pretty cool. Whatever. However, with Wuthering Waves 2.6, we are seeing one of the best quality of lives that has ever come to the game, and that is flight being added to older regions. Some people might not find this to be a big deal, and although it's not necessarily a new combat event or a returning combat event such as the co-op hologram boss rush, the tower mode, this really is a big fucking deal. The addition of flight to the older regions shows how tapped in Kuro is with the audience and addresses what many consider to be a big problem of the 1.0 areas. Didn't really need to go back and do this, but they did it, and I'm very happy. So let's break this down. One of the biggest talking points of Wuthering Waves is the amazing exploration even at launch. You had a plethora of movement options available for free, such as grappling hooks, unlimited sprints, wall climbing, even echoes that can move around, such as Inferno Rider or the Herons, all for free. Genshin ever $23 billion company, by the way. Coming from Genshin Impact, where the movement was pretty much always paywalled, having all of this at your disposal for free was a breath of fresh air and provided the players feeling respected by a gacha company, which is very rare. And normally it doesn't happen. They kind of just want to fucking slap you around, spit in your mouth, and tell you to give them money. Sounds like my dick. Just as we thought the exploration was nearly perfect, they teased Renacita. Not only was the new region beautiful and provided a completely different vibe from visuals and the cast of characters, they showed off the flight ability. And again, it was all for the price of $3.99. On top of all the movement that was already available, adding what felt as a seamless flight function was perfect for the game. I mean, just look at this. Beautiful. It really is honestly beautiful. The amazing thing about flight was it didn't trivialize the actual exploration itself. While there's some obstacles mainly designed for flight, like the little mini races that you can do in the air, where you have to go through the rings that are honestly piss poor easy. I think they're really just there for you to kind of look around the scenery and give you a couple free asteroids. You cannot solve the puzzles or interact with the world with flight itself. Flying is mainly a vehicle to provide a much better traversal experience, which will enhance the overall exploration, which are both two completely different things. Traversal mechanics are things such as flight, wall running, all the things I mentioned previously. They are modes of transportation that actually enable the player to go from point A to point B, while exploration itself is more of a process of actually searching throughout the world to see what it has to offer and discover tons of new things, whether that could be echoes, puzzles, chest, or just really cool spots to kind of sit down and take a picture in. Both are absolutely tied to each other, but they're not a one-to-one. And with that being said, the traversal that flight provides does not devalue the core mechanics of the Renacita world, and that's the icing on the cake. Additive and not taking away. Just imagine flying around looking at Septimont, how beautiful it is, and you know that the Augusta banner is coming up, and then you realize Oh, fuck. I gotta go back to Huonglong to farm. That's a scary thought, bro. That's a scary thought. I don't want to go back to that shithole, you know what I'm saying? What was once considered to be the peak of exploration was in a way power crept within 6 months. The narrative change from Huonglong and Black Shores are amazing to, well, exploring them was becoming a chore. And to be honest, for me, it was true. Once you step foot into Renacita and unlock the flight function, you don't really ever want to go back and explore the older regions. Yes, you could use things such as Inferno Rider's hold down skill or even Peeb to make it a bit more manageable, but running from point A to point B over and over and over again became a little annoying. It's obviously not as bad as a game like Skyrim where you're consistently just running out of stamina and then you're stuck for 10 seconds waiting for it to regen, but goddamn was it rough once you experience the other side being Renacita with flight. Again, originally it was the best thing we had, but Wuthering Waves topped their initial implementation of exploration and traversal in 1.0 to the point where I didn't want to go back. Honestly, I'd rather just swipe than take the time to explore older regions for Asteroid at this point. That's how much I really wasn't fucking with it. But it's not even just exploration. Things such as farming echoes in the open world in Renacita is so much more tolerable. All you need to do is mark it on the map, and once the mob is done, you can easily fly over to the next one. You might need to teleport to the area, but again, flying to that echo is so fast once you go to the right teleport. And Huonglong, well, you're cooked, buddy. You can hit the nearest TP point, but you still got some running to do. At least this process of farming them in the overworld was a lot easier with flight. It made something that is no longer really an enjoyable experience a little bit more enjoyable, because at least I get free and not waste time running around to the next echo. Another massive positive about flight being added to Huonglong and Black Shores is that, well, new players don't need to rush to Renacita. A lot of veteran players, including myself, would give the advice to newer players to just kind of try to get to the 2.0 area as soon as possible. The beginning of the game is a bit rough around the edges due to the exploration issues, along with the pacing of the story. Acts 1 to 5 being pretty mediocre, sometimes even just ass. It really doesn't make for the best beginner player experience. The story doesn't really start picking up until Act 6 when we fight the war with Gion. However, as we learn with 2.5, a lot of the events in the 1.0 era are very important to the story, and, well, if you really want to try to understand a lot of what happens in certain parts of the Renacita story, especially with Frolova, well, you're gonna have to pay attention to the slow burn that was 1.0. By allowing new players to get access to one of the best features in the game off rip will make the new player experience 100 times better. Either eliminating or reducing a lot of the pain points of the game will hopefully allow for newer players to stay around and become invested and leave those Hoyoverse games because they're the worst things ever. So yes, flight being added does not necessarily fundamentally add what I'm looking for in the sense of new combat, but it's going to allow me to go back to these older regions and have more fun. You know, it won't be such a drag to explore and just experience the world in a different way that I wasn't able to experience it when the game first launched. So I am very much looking forward to this. It's good for new players and it's great for old players as well. Now, something else I want to mention really quick is Kuro Games has confirmed that future regions will not have flight going forward. Now, personally, while I truly do love the flight system, and I do think it's a solid extension to the traversal we've had in the original game, it can easily become boring and repetitive if we don't have anything new. This gives me hopes that Kuro is cooking up something possibly even more fun than flight. Things such as mounts, being able to mount echoes to traverse, cars, hoverboards, really be a great addition to the game. I mean, if we were to think about it realistically, you'd probably have something to a similar speed of maybe Inferno Rider, a little bit faster, with a longer duration time, climbing up walls, etc. And the possibility of getting a new mode of traversal, well, that just excites me. So 2.6 Kuro Games, well, congratulations, you have gotten another dev's listen. Except for the fact that I think that we're lacking so much fucking combat, bro. Bring back these old fucking events. I'm so tired of this fucking bullshit.